Good afternoon, everybody. This is going to be quite cosy, isn't it? My name's John Cox. I'm the sales director for Zumtobel Group, that's Zumtobel Lighting in the UK. So I'm going to give you an overview on Zumtobel Group, who we are and what we do in terms of lighting and how it relates to sports. So just a little bit of background as to who is Zumtobel Group, because you may or may not have heard of Zumtobel Group. We're a global player in lighting with a very strong market position. So our focus is on general lighting. So when I say our focus is on general lighting, we do lighting for all kinds of applications, for education, industry, sports, logistics, retail, street lighting. Pretty much anything to do with lighting is what we do. So we manufacture and supply lighting, but we also do more than that. We supply luminaires and lighting solutions. So luminaires to us, it's the light fittings to the rest of the world. And we are a European market leader. We also manufacture components, and we're a world leader in manufacture of components which go into light fittings. We've got strong brands in Thorn. You may have heard of Thorn Lighting. Thorn have been around for 90 years now in the UK. Zumtobel, so we are Zumtobel Group. And ACDC is a company we acquired about 3 years ago. And all of those brands and portfolios complement each other. Tridonic is our sister company who makes the components. So we are a leading component supplier and also supply to a lot of our competitors. And then we have more recently Zumtobel Group Services. And Zumtobel Group Services is not just designing and supplying lighting, it's full turnkey packages, so wall-to-wall solution, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that afterwards. We have a global presence, so we have offices in around 90 countries. We have over 6,500 employees, 1,800 of those in sales, and we've got factories in 13 countries in 4 continents. So sports lighting. So whatever the app, like I said, we were in terms of us being a general focus on lighting. We also do everything to do with sports lighting. So that's whether it's indoor sports, outdoor sports, and not just the field of play. Quite often the field of play can be 20% of the lighting stock in any site or complex. So we do all of it. Back of office, car parks, etc. Here's just a few examples I'm going to show you of some projects that we've completed. So we see the Palatrento Arena in Italy, a basketball arena. Then we see a smaller one on the right there. So it doesn't have to be big for us to be interested. We do projects both large and small. And of course, no larger than Wembley Stadium. Almost every light fitting in Wembley Stadium was supplied by Thorn Lighting, including the current pitch lighting and the arch over the top with colour changing LED lighting. And then closer to home for Thorn that is, Spennymoor. So the Thorn factory and distribution centre and offices are located in Spennymoor in County Durham. So we've also done the flood lighting for Spennymoor Football Club. And here we see a couple more examples. So Budapest Aquatics Arena, the Dolan Aquatic Centre in the UK, and all types of applications. So whether it be volleyball, indoor tennis, velodromes, gymnasiums, outdoor training facilities, we do it all, including the building facades like you see up on the top left-hand side there. So we can do colour changing, building facades, etc. Back of house, car parks. So what's our well-being story? Our well-being story is around active light. And the best example of active light or dynamic light is natural light. So if you think about in the morning when the sun rises, you have a moderate level of light, as you know. And as we approach midday, the intensity of light gets higher, the lighting levels get higher and higher by natural light, but the colour temperature drops. So we start with a warm colour temperature, and then it gradually moves over by lunchtime to a cooler colour temperature. And then we get the reverse in the afternoon, which is quite often why you have the post-lunch dip, and everybody comes back after lunch and often feel a little bit lethargic. That's also associated with natural light. And three levels of light quality are visual, emotional, and biological. So visual is exactly what it says. So the receptors in the eye take in an image, take in the light, send it to the brain, and that translates that to an image where we process and evaluate information. An interesting one is emotional light. So if you think about emotional light, so we think about how it affects our well-being and our mood swings, etc. If you think about the summer that we've just had, for example, a lot of people were going around in a much happier frame of mind than you would normally see, and that's largely connected with light and weather conditions, etc. So it does have an impact on our emotional well-being. And biological is an interesting one. So this is where light subliminally controls our hormone secretion. So this can affect how lethargic or active we're feeling. And around, I will say approximately 18 years or so ago, they discovered a new receptor in the eye that was connected to something called the pineal gland at the back of the brain. And this has got nothing to do with visual cortex. So this doesn't take in imagery. What this pineal gland does, they found out, is control your biological clock. So it does control your melatonin, your cortisol, and this is actually effective even in some blind people. So they perceive the light without seeing it, and it actually affects how they're feeling. And there are 4 dimensions of active light. So one is intensity, so the volume, the volume of light that we see. And in the words of Elton John, the sun rolling through the sapphire sky keeps great and small on the endless round. It's the circle of life, as in the Circle of Life song by Elton John. But the position of the sun and the weather conditions and reflection off the moon whole impact on the intensity during the course of a year, a month, or even a day. So if you think about when you can't see the sun, obviously you've probably got about 30% or 40% of the lighting level that you would have on a clear day. So direction of light is also another important aspect, and since the beginning of time, human settlements have been based around light direction and where the sun rises and falls. Now, the colour of light is another dimension. So we think about colour of light. So in the morning, for example, you can see the colour of light in a sunrise. You can see the colour of light in a sunset. And you can see the colour of light in rainbows. What you see indirectly then is not the colour of light directly from the sun, but when it's interreflected as the surfaces. So, for example, you think of an autumn forest or a snow-covered mountains and how the impact of light works there and influences us. And the 4th dimension is time. So prior to us having artificial light, anything that we wanted to do outside, so recreational activities, for example, would be based around time of day and available light. So we look at a lighting revolution now, so not evolution, but a revolution. If we look at what we've had in the past, we've had workplace guidelines, we've had fluorescent lighting, which got up to as high as an efficacy of 100 lumens per watt. What do we mean by that? The amount of light you get for each watt of energy. Lighting management systems, emergency lighting regulations, and then around 10 years ago, we saw the introduction of LED. Now, of course, LED is a lot older than 10 years, but as a functional light source, LED lighting came along around 10 years ago, and then over a period of several years, this built up to an efficacy of 100 lumens per watt. And then we had tunable white. So what do we mean by tunable white? So we think about warm white and cool white and the ability to change the colour appearance within one solution. So you may want a warm white solution, typical to what you've got here, or you may want a more invigorating solution where you want a cool white. And then energy efficiency laws. And so where are we right now? So if you look at LEDs, for example, now, we're now at 130 lumens per watt, and even higher in some cases. So where's it going in the future? Energy management. So it's already here, energy management, but more and more lighting will play a part of the lighting platform and infrastructure. So for things like management of people and object tracking, you can use your lighting infrastructure to do this. We expect a ban on discharge lamps, so the HQI lamps and the sodium lamps. We're sure that at a point in time, just like the tungsten lamp was banned, we expect discharge lighting at a point in time to be banned. It will have more impact and interaction with our circadian timeline. Industry 4.0, which is sort of high-tech futuristic type industry. And Li-Fi, well, that's not so much in the future. It's probably in the future where it becomes usable, but we've already trialled Li-Fi. We've already got an example out in Copenhagen where Li-Fi is like Wi-Fi, but it's not a signal. It takes you take your Wi-Fi connection, if you will, from a light beam, not from an electronic signal. And where do we expect it to go? We expect to see 200 lumens per watt over the next few years in terms of energy efficiency from LED. So when you think about that, that doubles what we had in fluorescent when we thought fluorescent was quite efficient. And the Internet of Things. Okay, so lighting plays a bigger part in the Internet of Things, whatever that means to different people. So where are we now? So we also offer light as a service. So if you think about your lighting stock, traditionally what you've done is you've bought your lighting, whether it's been as an installation or part of a building. But now it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually have your light as a service rather than as a bought product. So what do we mean by that? So it means that we can actually manage your lit environment for you. So we could carry out energy audits, do lighting designs, write the specification, we can finance it, install it, and even maintain it. So all of that is available right now through ZG services. So the benefits, what are the benefits to the customer? Obviously, you get the energy savings right from the outset. The financing doesn't have to be over 1 or 2 years. It can be over the period of the arrangement, which could be 5 years, for example. So Zumtobel then would look after all aspects, and then, of course, as technology advances, that can be incorporated into the lighting service that you're taking. So I'm now going to look at an example. So this isn't a theoretical example, this is an actual example, but I'm going to call it Site A. So I'm going to look at Site A and Site B from one customer. So this slide shows in the first year the general lighting, so the indoor lighting, emergency lighting, and outdoor lighting, the savings in year one. So it's almost self-explanatory this. So this is based on 11 pence per kilowatt hour for the cost of electricity. It's based on burning hours of 4,316, which is 12 hours per day, 7 days per week, on a climate levy charge of 0.59 pence per kilowatt hour, and on a 7-year period. So if we look at year one, we can existing lighting, we can see energy costs of 71,000. With the new LED energy efficient lighting, that reduces to 28,000. Then after that, smaller savings, but still savings, you can see the current cost of maintenance, the new cost of maintenance, and the current cost of CO2, new cost of CO2, all resulting in an overall saving of 46,600. Staying on Site A then, if we project that over a 7-year period, taking a cost of electricity, of energy, to increase at 5% per annum, and a 2% inflation, and a monthly payment of 3,400, and a potential ECA benefit. ECA means Enhanced Capital Allowance. Happy to talk about that afterwards if you want to go into more detail as to what that is and how it's made up. But then this shows a finance period of 5 years, the savings, and then of course in years 6 and 7, when it's paid for, you see the savings ramp up significantly. So on line number 1, you've got the existing cost year on year, and then underneath the new costs. And then on the bottom line, you've got the cumulative savings. But over a 7-year period, this installation is saving £198,000. Site B is general lighting and emergency lighting. It's the same client, no outdoor lighting. It's a smaller site, but it's based on the same parameters of 11 pence per kilowatt hour and 4,316 burning hours, and the same climate levy charge, of course. And you can see initially with the existing lighting an annual energy cost of 27,000, which reduced to 10,000, and then again reduction in maintenance and CO2 costs, giving an overall saving of £19,000. And then projected out over 7 years, you can see that the overall saving on this site was 66,950. Again, same parameters, taking the existing and the new cost and the ongoing savings. So in summary, Site B, with this finance proposal, at a cost of £1,762 per month over 5 years, gave a total saving of 67,000. The saving is measured on 7 years, not 5 years. The finance is measured on 5 years. Similarly, Site A was 3,472 cost of the lighting per month. That's not just the energy, that's the rental of it, if you will. And again, that was over a period of 5 years, but with the energy, with the total savings measured over a period of 7 years. So in total, this client has saved £256,000 over a period of 7 years. So you may start to think differently about your lighting stock and your lighting infrastructure in future, what you do with it and what you can do with it, and how you source it and how you pay for it. Thank you.